decided to take a second and think about all of the stuff that my mom has done for me. So I started to write stuff out, and the first couple lines started to rhyme. So I was like, well, hey, we'll just go with the flow and just try to make it rhyme. Well, it was a little difficult as I got towards the end, but hopefully I didn't compromise meaning for making it rhyme. So I'm not really sure if it has rhythm, but here it goes. I love you, Mommy. My mom has taught me to be disciplined in everything I do. She has taught me to respect her and you. She encouraged me in my own personality, but she also made sure I learned hospitality. She taught me to be confident and not to judge others, and to think of them before following my own druthers. She helped me develop common sense so I could build my own defense. She taught me to love Jesus and have a willing heart so that he could enable me to stand against the devil's flaming darts. She wanted to make sure I had a good education, and she was never lacking in her dedication. She taught me to adventure and dream, and even though she disagreed sometimes, she never was mean. Her hugs were always there when I fell, or needed to hide, or when my precious kitty died. Through my happy and my drama, she has always been a supportive and loving mama. And I hope that someday I can teach my kids all the things that she has taught me and mold them into the upright, godly people that they should be. So, Mommy, I love you.
Things I'm going to give out to some of the mothers. I didn't give something to all the mothers this year, only if you stay for dinner. There'll be flowers back there for the mothers. And if you can't stay for dinner, you can go get a flower off the table back there. But these are just something I wanted to give out. And I have several Mother's Day gifts here today. There's Terry. And there's my other family. And stand up, Renee and Jacob. Come on. Now, what better gift could I have than that? And I forgot Dad.
And you gotta have your husband stand up too.
Okay. So, I'm going to give out a few things, and if you're lucky, you'll get it. Okay. The mother with the most family here. Who has the most family here? Is it me?
My mom?
Leah, how many do you have here in your family? Just regular family. Huh? Marge has the most family here. Okay, the one with the most family here. Marge will just give you a plaque. Now see, if you can't use that in order to cheer you up, you can give it to somebody. The youngest mother here. Who's our youngest mother?
Right here, right in front row.
Right here? Oh, good. We could give something to someone I don't really know that much. There you go.
That's Savannah.
So we hope you appreciate that. And the next one, probably. This will go to the oldest mother that isn't Marge. So who's the oldest mother? Pat? Or...
You have to tell how old you are if you want to get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody's older than I am. Are you the oldest? Are you older than Pat? Whitlock? How old
specifically for church today?
Okay, Renee.
Well, we have a guest here. Why are you going?
You're welcome. I have one more. The one that lives the closest to the church.
Right next door.
Okay, and that's all I have here, but I want you to know you're all invited to dinner. We've got plenty of dinner, and there's flowers back there for all the mothers, and probably there's enough for those that aren't mothers, you'll just see. There's 24 flowers back there, so I'm sure you have enough.
With so many things going on, I'm glad Mary's on top of it. Because usually every year I order some flowers from Safeway, and I just dropped the bucket this year. So all the water spilled and there's no flowers for you.
Oh, darn
But
it.
see, if you guys don't remind me, with all the stuff that's going on, how many of you have, I know Emily said that she's been busy with finals and all this stuff going on. This last couple of weeks has just been draining with all the things going on. Last night was great. How many of you showed up last night? Raise your hands. It was so exciting that we now have our first youth minister. This church has full-time youth minister, and they're not here today because they are with the family. The family's heading back today, but they were going to have a brunch before they left. And so Isaac told me that he wasn't going to be able to make it. He said he was sorry, but I said, I understand. Family is more important. So the thing that we have to understand too is we're hiring Isaac, not Hannah. And I think I've seen a lot of churches, they figure that the wife needs to be just as involved as the husband, but you know, we're hiring Isaac and not Hannah. And we need to allow her to serve as she pleases, and she does mention that as she gets settled down, she wants to serve. But let's not try to force her or wonder why she's not doing things as we would like to see it, okay? Hannah did get a job right away, and she's going to be working at Family Vision Clinic. So she's pretty excited that. She's not going to do hair, I guess, but she will do hair on the side. But you will have to pay for it, you know? Don't expect to get it for free. And I know she does a good job and everything, and so we're pretty excited about that too. Mother's Day. Mother's Day is, of course, a person that used to own a flower shop. Mother's Day was one of the busiest, and you know, a lot of times in a floral business, you lose money all year long, but it's the holidays that really is when you're the busiest. And so I remember when Mother's Day came around, I was going crazy. I remember one Mother's Day that we had ordered a whole bunch of roses and put the roses in the cooler, and the cooler broke down on Mother's Day, that weekend. And I remember all the roses going bad on Mother's Day. And it was like a nightmare. But the thing is that Father's Day come along, and guess what? Father's Day, you know, nobody wants to buy flowers for fathers. And you know what, ladies? Men like flowers too. So, I don't know about you, man. Maybe some of you don't, but I like flowers. I enjoy flowers. In fact, I woke up this morning and realized that my miniatures are blooming. So I brought some to share, a couple on the piano and the organ here. And, but you know, God is good. God has blessed us with this thing called motherhood. And all of us wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our mothers. And you know, when I think about mothers, I think about, and as I was preparing for this message today, I was thinking, what kind of story in the Bible can we look at to kind of talk about on Mother's Day. And as I thought about it, I thought about this theme. We say this is one of our sayings in Al-Anon, let go and let God. And in Ecclesiastes 11, it says, to cast your bread on the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. Divide your portion to 7 or 8, even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. If the clouds are full, they will pour out rain upon the earth, and whether a tree falls towards the south or towards the north, wherever the tree falls, there it lies. And he who watches the wind will not sow, and he who looks at the clouds will not reap. Just as you do know the path of the wind and how the bones are formed in the womb of the pregnant woman, so you do not know the activity of God who makes all things. You know, the thing is that when we think about mothers and what they mean to us, I mean, just a glimpse of how Emily cared for her mother. I know some of us may not have a good relationship with our mothers, and I've seen a lot of girls that are really down and depressed because maybe their mother didn't treat them too good, or maybe they didn't grow up with a mother, a loving mother. But the thing is that there's a reason why God set up the family structure the way he did. And you know, the thing is something, I think sometimes we don't understand why God created this male and female thing. Because there has been friction all through the ages between the husband and the wife. But you know, I think God was just showing himself, his character in creating the man and the woman. Because in himself, he has the divine unity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And in creating mankind, he wanted to show mankind what his love looks like. And so we have the husband, the father, that has this character of leadership. But you know, I know sometimes in the family, it's like there's this thing where the father scolds the child, but then the child runs off to mommy and hides and comforts, finds comfort. And you know, we have this thing called compassion that motherhood shows. Mother is there. And you know, it doesn't matter how old your mother is. There's that connection that somehow you can go to your mom and tell your mom how things are going. My mom's 93, I think, right now. And she's kind of losing her mind a little bit. She can't remember. I mean, she's not crazy, but she just can't remember things. And she just keeps on forgetting. But you know what? I love my mom. And I don't know how much longer I have to have my mom. And that's why I like to go back every year to visit with them. And every time I leave Hawaii, I ask my question, is this going to be the last time that I get to have my mom? But the comforting thing is that I know where my mom's going when she dies. And I think about what mom means to me. My mom, ever since I was little, was a stay-at-home mom. And she was a worker. She always worked hard, washing the dishes, washing the clothes, doing things for us 6 boys. No girls. And I remember my oldest brother was in high school. And he got to play all the sports. He was the all-star quarterback. He was the pitcher. And he was basketball. But when it came to me, my mom says, no, you're not going to play any sports because, of course, she's seen all the injuries that my brother got. And I had to stay home and wash the dishes. But you know, the thing is that mothers are, I remember Memorial Day weekend, and you know, she says, no, you can't go surfing. And you know what? I disobeyed her. I went surfing.
Wrestle, wrestle,
I
wrestle.
jumped off my surfboard and I ended up getting a big gash in the bottom of my foot. And I had to go to the hospital with, I think it was 8 stitches. And I remember them pouring that cleaner out and getting a brush and scrubbing my sore. Ow! And you know what my mom told me when I got home?
You disobeyed me.
I
Told you
told
so.
you. I told you so. Moms are real good. But one of the stories that I wanted to tell about is they don't even give the name of this mom. And it's in Exodus, the 1st chapter. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shipra and Puah, kind of weird names, when you're helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do, and they let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live?" And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. And then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every Hebrew boy that is born must be thrown into the Nile, but let every girl live. The midwives answered Pharaoh, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They're vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive." So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. In chapter 2, now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. And when she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. Now, I don't know how you hide a child for 3 months without having the authorities find out about it. But apparently she was successful in doing that. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. And then she placed the child along the bank of the Nile. And his sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. And then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she says. And then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mom. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. Now, how good is this, huh? That the woman trusted God, and she loved her son so much that she was willing to give up her son so that he could live. So she takes this basket and places her baby in it and puts it in the Nile so that someone could find him and maybe spare his life. And she was rewarded for that because she was giving back her son. And she wasn't even getting paid for it. How many of you women would like to get paid for raising your own kids? Huh? Maybe you should ask your husband, "Hey, can you pay me for every hour I spend taking care of my kid?" $10 an hour. I mean, that's cheap wage, right, today? How many of you get more than $10 an hour? Huh? You get more than $10 an hour? $10 is a pretty good wage, but let's just say $10 an hour. Add up all the hours that you moms have spent raising your kids. Can you imagine how much you would have today? You've been millionaires and you got $10 an hour for every hour you spent helping your kids. And it says, when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water." What a story. I mean, we don't even know the name of this mother, but we know this. Yes? her son so that he can live. Now here's just this little boy that she gave up. Can you imagine if she had allowed him to get killed among the rest of them? What would have happened? Moses, raised by Pharaoh's daughter, became one of the leaders in Egypt, who led the people of Israel out of captivity, almost to the promised land. I say almost because he didn't make it because of his disobedience. But Joshua and Caleb took them into the promised land. Another story that I like to talk to you about is about another lady. And it comes in 1 Samuel 1. There was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Joram, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephraimite. He had two wives. One was called Hannah and the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. And whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his son wife Peninnah and all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah, he gave her a double portion because he loved her. And the Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. And this went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. And her husband Elkanah would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. And now Eli, the priest, was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. And in her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. And she made a vow saying, Lord Almighty, if you only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head. And as she kept on praying to the Lord, Eli was observing her mouth. Hannah was praying in her heart, and her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. Eli thought she was drunk and said to her, how long are you going to stay drunk? Put away your wine. Not so, my lord, Hannah replied. I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I have not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. Do not take your servant for a wicked woman. I have been praying here out of my great anguish and grief. And Eli answered, go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him. And she said, may your servant find favor in your eyes. And then she went on her way and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. Early in the morning they rose and worshipped before the Lord and went back to their home at Ramah. And Elkanah made love to his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. And she named him Samuel. And those of you who have studied the Bible know who Samuel is, a great prophet of God. She named him Samuel, saying, because I asked the Lord for him. And when her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual sacrifice to the Lord and to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, after the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always. Now, I don't know if you women understand what she has done here. As a boy, she had prayed for the Lord to give her a son or a child, and was willing that if the Lord would bless her, that she would give him back to the Lord to serve in the temple. And when she was given, she kept her promise and allowed her son to be raised in the temple. Do what seems best to you, her husband Elkanah told her. Stay here until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord make good his word. So the woman stayed at home and nursed her son until she had weaned him. And after he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with a 3-year-old bull. Now, you ranchers, how strong is a 3-year-old bull? I was thinking about that.
Pretty strong.
Here's a woman taking this bull to the temple for offering a sacrifice. A 3-year-old bull and an ephah of flour and a skin of wine. And brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. And when the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli. And she said to him, pardon me, my Lord, as surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child. And the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord for his whole life. He will be given over to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. It's chapter 2. Then Samuel prayed and said, then Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance. There is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one beside you. There is no rock like our God. Now, I tried to download this video and bring it in. I was told that it had a corrupt file, and I went back home during Sunday school and tried to download it again, but for some reason I couldn't play it. But the song is The God of the City. And it says that there is no one like our God. And you know, the funny thing is when I downloaded this video, or when I pulled it up on YouTube, there's this commercial, and you know how the commercials come up, those of you go on YouTube? And I watched this commercial, and it was a Dove commercial. So since I couldn't bring up the commercial, I'm going to tell you about it. And what it was is this guy who, he was working at the San Jose Police Department for, even before I was there and after I was there, like 20-something years. And he was a sketch artist. And what he did is he sat down, he called these women in, he sat down here and had his drafting board, and he had a curtain separating, and this woman would come in and sit down, and he asked the woman to describe herself, her features. And so the woman proceeded to describe what she looked like. You know, the color of hair, the facial structure and all this. And then what he did is he would call in another woman to describe this woman that he had just sketched. And he would proceed to sketch a different sketching. And you know, it seems like every woman that came in described herself as not what other people saw. And I thought, maybe there's a reason that God let me see this video, because, you know, sometimes, and I know, especially these models, we know that a lot of women have trouble looking of themselves as being something beautiful. But you know, if you have the beauty inside, that's what counts. Doesn't matter how beautiful you are on the outside, you don't have that beautiful character, that Christian character, the God-like, Christ-like character right here. Nothing else really matters. But if you have Christ in your heart, you know, people will see that. And people will describe you to others the way God sees you. It's hard for us as people to see ourselves as perfect people, as saints, as holy, because we look at what we think we are. But sometimes we need to stop and think of how God perceives us. How does God perceive us? I like again that saying, God makes no junk. He sees us as a mother sees her loving child. There's nothing that stops the mother's love for her child. And in the same way, God is showing us His love. That there's nothing, absolutely nothing in this world that we can do, no horrible act, the worst thing that we can ever imagine of doing will stop God from loving us. Wow. What a God we serve. And that's why I like Mother's Day. Because it reminds us our mother's love